Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Jeff Messenger, yes, once again, you have found your way into the darkness of the Fox Den in an attempt to figure out what is happening with the infamous Dogman topic. I really do need to feed, though. Much sleep means lack of nutrients. Do appreciate the gifts you have brought me, Mr. Messenger. And now that I am fully revamped, we can once again take a walk into the madness known as the Dogman.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, again, you have tuned in to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. JJ Messenger has found his way through the darkness and has set up the late night fire so that we can burn the early morning timber as we again read a few chapters from the Midnight Society book. JJ, my guy, how you been, bro?
Oh, I've been okay. I mean, it's been a long, cold winter, but I'm hanging in.
Yeah, I hear you on that because you are up in the Northeast / New England, such as myself. Yeah, it's been pretty brutal to an extent, but I do have some friends up in Canada where it was really brutal, and also some friends in Idaho where it was really brutal too. It's been pretty frosty, eh?
Yeah, polar vortex, dipping down in the country, the Gulf Coast getting a snowstorm. It's like, what?
I know, right? Gnarly. And even a soulless creature of the night, such as myself, gets cold. I mean, coffins aren't well insulated. Right? Brutal stuff for sure. But it's good. You've got me all up and about here. We have some pretty interesting stuff to the audience that we're going to dive into. Yes, Connecticut. We're going to touch base on a few encounters from JJ's neck of the woods, but before we get there, we have some other things to attend to. JJ, what have you been up to, my friend? You been diving into anything? I know you work a ton and you like to take some naps, like you said, but have you been diving into any Dogman, Changeling, Shapeshifter, werewolf type stuff lately?
Oh, I expose myself to whatever I can on YouTube or on TikTok or what have you. Now, the shorts on YouTube and the TikTok videos are very brief and they don't contain information. Like, you'll see some compelling footage once in a while, and we know everyone has access to special effects these days. And you want information. You want a little bit of material as to what you're watching and who is behind it. And unfortunately, it's all about the clicks now. It's all about the clicks. No one cares about the meat. No one cares about the substance. It's about the views. And it's very, very frustrating, but I'm always scoping. I'm always scoping through the internet looking for what new material is out there.
I couldn't agree more. It is pretty gnarly. Again, some advice I would give to myself or anybody else out there, such as yourself, trying to get your content out. I mean, look at it as a newspaper title or something. Like my buddy Phil from Dogman TP Hunting says, you definitely are going to apply within that article or your show relation to that title, but that title needs to engage somebody. Okay. For example, I try to do things like, here's one for you. I'm going to name our episode later, something like this with Sonia and Barb and myself, because we were talking about changelings and everything. Werewolves, changelings, shapeshifters. Oh my.
Yeah.
So yeah, just little things to, if someone was glancing through it, like you said, would be like, oh, interesting. Because shorts, I mean, I get people that make really unintellectual comments, meaning like, oh, well, your short right here had nothing to do potentially with the title of the short. And then if I was to ever waste my time responding, it would be like, well, this is a 3-minute short that has the actual full 45-minute video linked to it underneath, which then the purpose is not for you to sit there and try to take my 3-minute video as to what I'm talking about, because yes, that's to lead you in to watch the whole episode where we make reference on it. It's nearly impossible to please everybody, dude, and just kind of do your thing. People like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. What are we gonna cry about it?
Right. Oh, I hear you about that. People have been attaching Fox News anchors and CNN anchors and have their pictures next to their little short or their little blurb, and it ends up not being on those news channels at all. I'm like, what are they doing? But it's all a gimmick, right? It's clickbait, and it's like, oh, that clip was on CNN or Fox News. Oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let me look, let me see, and then wait a minute. This is a guy in his living room. What? So I did a little bit of a gimmick on one of my more popular videos on the Winstead Wildman Research YouTube channel. And I was connecting Bigfoot with Festivus. And I thought it was kind of a funny correlation because I found this very large broken tree that without branches. And it was like a very large 20-foot pole that was stabbed into the ground. And we're talking about something that's like 15 inches wide. So this isn't some little branch stab. It's a tree that was plummeted into the earth. And I have no idea how it happened, how it could have happened naturally. It wasn't leaning. It showed no evidence of falling naturally and gouging into the ground. It looked like it was put in there by the DOT as a fence post, And this is in the middle of the woods. So I correlated it to a Festivus pole from Seinfeld, Festivus for the Rest of Us, where George Costanza's father had the pole that he would bring out instead of a Christmas tree. And one of the challenges of Festivus was feats of strength, right? So I figured I would play out the pole as a feat of strength because it sure was something that none of us could do as human beings.
Beautiful stuff right there, man. Yes, that's what I mean about just trying to break down and dissect things. That's what I try to also explain to people. I'm not a researcher. I'm a journalist. Okay? There's a big difference right there. I'm not an investigator. I'm a journalist. All right? I encourage everyone out there to look up the definition of a journalist and journalism. All right? And then look up the definitive definition of investigator and researcher. In my opinion, there is a very clear difference right there. And how do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, as a journalist, you'd like to cover all angles, of course. And as a researcher, you have to look for a naturalistic or a logical reasons why something may be the way it is that may have nothing to do with cryptids or the paranormal. So you always have to be mindful of all the different angles. And when you share your material on YouTube and stuff, if I get if someone is constructive with their criticism, if someone is like, hey, did you ever stop to think that maybe raccoons are unscrewing that jar, et cetera, et cetera? These are legitimate issues. This is legitimate critiques that I want to hear. I'm not going to get all defensive, like, no, man, it was Bigfoot. You're not there. You don't know. It's like, yeah, that's a very good point. Raccoons can unscrew jars. Yes, they can.
Beautiful again, right there, my friend. That's a big reason why I've continued to keep you as a host, call you a friend, because I like your view and angles on things. Also, your logic. It's just important. That's all. There's too much chaos, too much labeling of things, too much of things being mixed up, too much of people not looking at mixed up things. Wait, what, Star Fox? That's a lot of thinking. Yes, I mean, quick example. Like you said, large trees being shoved upside down. Okay. Well, that's primate behavior. All right. So time out. I do think that Bigfoot, like Dogman, there is more than one angle. Okay. I believe prehistoric humans are involved. Okay. And I also believe there are apes being involved. If you look at the different behaviorisms in the areas, considering where these entities or beings or creatures or animals are set up, the behaviors fall into the categories of, like I just said, some areas apish, okay? Like the whole sticking of the trees upside down. That is something apes, prehistoric and modern day times, do to mark territories, and they're extremely strong, okay? Interesting. And then you hear the thing about the wood knocking. A lot of people don't realize that is actually prehistoric human behavior as well, meaning before we started becoming more dominant, we would have smaller clans, and the larger predators would take down these huge herbivores. What would we do? We would sit there and bang on one tree to communicate with your buddy over on the other side of the hill. Bang on the tree to the other person over there. And you start hooting and hollering and screaming, bang, bang, bang. What's that do to the predators? It deters them for a bit, where basically your scouts now can run in and take pieces of meat before these predators basically realize this is just all a show and there is nothing behind this banging and screaming, and then they come back to reclaim their meal. Again, that's not ape behavior. That is primitive human. But yes, some apes have been seen, potentially banging. But again, that's more of a prehistoric hominoid behavior. I'm with you, man. I just think people need to look at it from different aspects, logically sit back for a second. You'll like this, being a Bigfoot guy and diving into more of that. I really could care less about the sheep squatch and the majority of these bizarre cryptids. I mean, there's icebergs of more cryptids than you could ever think would exist. I just couldn't even believe it. This sheep squatch, in my opinion. Do I think there is some large sheep running around? No. Do I think that it's a Dogman or a Sasquatch wearing the skull of a sheep? Yes. In different reports and such, especially with the cynocephaly, all throughout culture, they've worn skulls of things. Yeah, that's my thought on it. I don't think it has anything to do with a sheep and a Bigfoot being mixed up. I think it's legitimately a Bigfoot or a potential Dogman wearing a skull. How do you feel about that, man?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely have been intrigued by reports of when they're wearing discarded clothing that people will have in their yard, and then they'll see a supposed Sasquatch or a Bigfoot wearing a robe or a discarded garment. Or they could wear animal skins. They could use vegetation. They could use weeds and cattails and seaweed or whatever, and drape themselves in whatever they could drape themselves in. It's all camouflage. It's all, or it's their recreation. Who could say? But it does work as camouflage too, obviously.
I really enjoy how you just brought that up because there are numerous cases where people have seen dogman like creatures wearing skulls. I believe Goatman isn't necessarily Goatman. I believe Goatman are probably dogman type creatures wearing these masks. Wait, what? What are you talking about, Star Fox? Well, numerous times there are reports of people seeing dog like, hyena like creatures wearing what seems to be a branch type rounds that maybe is it solidifying something in their groups or tribes that they're kind of the top person or dog, no pun intended, even though I don't necessarily think canines are truly fully involved with Dogman. There's also cases of them wearing basically a skull of something, of maybe even a wolf or a deer or a goat. They are seemingly doing some sort of ritual or chant. There was even a case of a couple of young kids that were on the porch playing, and as they looked out into the field by their farmstead, they saw what they swore was a group of human like wolf creatures. Could it have been people wearing skins? Of course, but it's pretty far away. That's plausible. Either way, though, these kids said that one of them was wearing what seemed to be some sort of bone or branch or maybe, like you said, foliage crown, and the rest of them were dancing around as if this one was the leader, and they followed him off into the forest. So again, some interesting stuff, man.
Oh yeah, I believe they're intelligent enough, these cryptids, to have ceremony and ritual. And ancient human ancestors, we did have ceremony and ritual going back tens of thousands of years, if not longer. Ceremony and ritual could be even seen with the greater apes. They do have their own rituals and ceremonies, not as elaborate as what we were talking about. But yes. I believe that, like in Northern California and Oregon, there's a video that someone had while they were camping in their truck. You may be aware of it, where there's a lot of howling and wailing, and it's multiple whales. And it's not like coyotes or canines. It's something very, very different. But it sounds like a large group. I believe that was of a ceremony or possibly was a funeral. It's within possibility because it did sound very distressed.
Actually, JJ, I got something really special for you that I didn't even remember I had a chance to learn last night until, well, my fan, to help keep out my extremely loud roommate's background noise, blew a piece of paper over. What was it? Yes, an encounter last night that I wanted to share. Guess what? You get to hear it, man. And you know who it involves? Not directly, but Linda Godfrey, man.
Oh, okay.
Haha. This one is actually legendary before we start diving into Connecticut, and it will time up pretty good. So at this point in time, Miss Linda Godfrey is a rookie reporter. We're going a little ways back before she really took into this. I mean, she had been assigned one of the reports, and well, she was like, all right. And she ended up starting to poke around, seemingly sit down with a town hall individual that had that whole entire manila folder, yeah, old school, right, stacked to the top with Werewolf. Then the bartender and Drizzy that was driving down Bray Road, who saw that, she starts diving into all of this. All right, now this is really before she fully, I guess, had committed to her opinions on the topic, because again, she's a rookie reporter. But this right here, I guess, kind of cemented some stuff for her. Her kids, friend and other friend, yes, she knew them because they were friends with her child. These two boys, I believe they were around 12 or 13-ish. I don't fully know on that, but they were pretty young, but old enough where they're not young, if that makes sense, right? Nice little tongue twister right there. Either way, they're out sledding. getting done with their day, they're talking, and they look over to a frozen creek. They see what looks to be a large dog-like creature licking some water up after it's broken through the ice, seemingly going over and wanting to interact or pet this dog because that's what they thought it was. They very quickly realize when it turns its head and looks at them, it is not a dog. They begin screaming, running, and it pursues them for a bit until they get too close, basically back to the houses, which we've spoken about before, the risk reward, and then it just kind of gives up and goes away.
Oh, wow. Wow, that it was actually pursuing the kids. That's unnerving. That sounds like a legitimate encounter. I mean, as you said, if it gets too close to the home, it's going to perceive the increasing danger element of that proximity. You know, that they're probably aware that people have firearms in their houses and that they have resources, and they don't want to get involved with that type of danger.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And recently we had a member of our science team, a new addition, Dr. Reed, come on, and she was talking about that on her ranch where she had a strange looking canine that she took a headshot on and it dropped, more or less, meaning because it had been coming too close. If you don't make sure you have that shot, it's going to come back next time at night, be more alerted and aggressive, etc. So when she went to look for it, though, she couldn't find it. Interesting for sure. It's risk reward. Some things are more boisterous than others. I also explain to people a farmstead is like you and I going to the grocery store. Okay, technically humans should be cultivating and gathering and hunting our foods, hence hunter-gatherer. I mean, anyone out there can look it up. That's how we evolved, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. But what do we do now? We go to the grocery store and, well, there's your food, okay? Whatever. Not complaining, obviously. Much easier for me too. But I'm just saying, is that not any different for a cougar, a bear, a baboon, a dogman, a Bigfoot that come across the farmstead where it's goats, chickens, sheep? Well, one of my really great friends and part of my science team has a ranch, and she said goats and sheep really aren't that smart. They just stand there. They've been stuck in things numerous times and just not that smart of an animal. Why is it hard for us to fathom that an animal doesn't pick up on that either, or a wolf, etc., that they just go into the farmstead and grab the chicken? People, what are we missing here? Think that just because we are humans that we're not animals and that we're the smartest, we're not necessarily, depending on how we look at it, sure, technology wise, but I see a lot of, well, pretty unintellectual people do things where you're like, how did you get this far? Quick story. These two people dress up in a zebra outfit, get off a safari, and then start getting attacked by female lions. And they're laughing about it, and they get back in, they're fine. But that's what I mean. There's no way those people are smarter than like my squirrel or many other animals I know, okay? My squirrel would never just put on a suit like that and jump out to a predator. Again, how much we're judging intellect depends on the situation presented. It's really bozo-ish for us as humans to think that an animal doesn't understand how much easier it is to hop the fence and get a goat and a chicken in an enclosed area than it is to hunt a deer across miles.
Oh yeah, yeah. When animals are on the hunt, they have to figure into their equation the amount of energy and calories that they're going to burn on the hunt. It has to be something practical for them. If you're burning too much energy, if you're burning too many calories, then the reward that you're going to end up with may not be worth the effort. Now, where I live, the black bears are extremely, they're very, shall we say, they're very pushy. They open my car door. They go after snack bags I often have in my car because I like snacking while I'm driving. It's something you shouldn't do. They'll drag out a chip bag. Much to their credit, they don't disrupt or damage the car. They'll open the door like a human being and leave a big bear print on my car seat and go after the chip bag. So they know what they're doing, and they're smart, and they know when I'm indoors, and they know when I'm asleep, and that's when they do it. And I often forget to lock my car, so.
Awesome. And like you just said, that's pretty smart if you ask me. That's a lot smarter than most people I know, including some people I live with. Great stuff. And also, I believe it was you that was talking about how you've witnessed raccoons just dipping their food into water and things and sauces. It just is something that people are missing. I mean, I've had jars of peanut butter not peanut butter, I'm sorry, jars of peanuts when I was sitting outside and just throwing around to some of the crows and the local squirrels and such. And well, I hadn't opened it yet. And I came outside and one of the squirrels, who's super friendly, they're all super friendly. They're about as friendly as my pet, man, because of how much I chill with them. It's pretty cool. This one was trying to open the jar too. So I had the comprehension that the peanuts were in the jar, but it didn't have the strength to open it. And it was looking at me like, dude, you're a dink. Like, why would you put these in here and set it out here? I can't access them, but I can see them. I can smell. I'm sorry, dude.
That's funny.
Yes, and it just shows you again right there that it was trying. And that also makes me wonder, you just hit it on the head. All right, when these werewolves or dogmen are trying to open car doors and they're struggling to do it, I no longer think they're struggling to do it. I almost think like it has to be a fear aspect, because you just again showed it. Bears and things figure out how to open a door. Okay, this raging dogman that is outside of your car and it knows you're in there and it supposedly is smart. It's a werewolf. It was a human or is a human, and it understands enough that you're in there. Well, it's got to figure out how to open the door too, right? I mean, what are we talking about? A tree stump werewolf here?
Yeah. Now, I think with the dogmen, conceivably they have an intelligence that may be rivaling the Sasquatch, and they are going to do things to terrify you and to keep you away from an area.
Right there too, because as you were saying that, I mean, same thing. A Sasquatch could rip your door off, but B, there's no way they couldn't open the door if they wanted to. Well, the dogman with their long claws and things, I understand that, but don't bears have really long claws and not even an articulated hand and they're opening your door? These dogmen supposedly have raccoon-like hands. Raccoons can open doors too. It's kind of humorous. They have a reset button after a period of time. I don't know how long it is. It's under a year, but they just reset. They forget, and then you can teach them again. But they can open doors. Yeah, super smart.
Oh yeah, you bet. And food is a huge motivator for them. So yeah, they'll manipulate jar lids and unscrew things. Yeah, anything to get to the good stuff.
Not smart though, right? According to human beings. I mean, yeah, that's really smart, dude.
Oh yeah, very, very intelligent. And it all depends on motivation and food, pretty much.
Also, too, another quick example before we tie it up with some of these Connecticut issues. Yeah, well, crocodiles. People were like, oh, it's a reptile. Reptiles aren't as smart as mammals, etc. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I am going to educate some people out there that might not know this. That is incorrect. How many humans and mammals are consumed by saltwater crocodiles? A plethora. Wait, it's a reptile though. Its brain is only the size of what? An acorn or etc. Well, okay, they've been around earlier or right around the same time frame as dinosaurs and have changed none. Why? Because they are a lethal predator. If you go to areas with saltwater crocodiles, you are told you can never camp by the water at the same points in time. You can never go down to the water to change or anything at same points in time. You have to mix it up completely and always be moving your locations because they sit there and they wait for you to do that. Meaning there was a woman telling the story who didn't do that. As she went down to just get some water in the morning after being there for a day or so, this crocodile had already learned her pattern, man. Boom, ambushed her. They were able to rescue her. If something's not smart, people want to say a reptile isn't. How did that thing just learn your pattern? I mean, that's pretty smart, is it not?
Oh, you bet. You bet. And the fact that they have a memory, that they can use that memory, wow.
Brutal, right? Again, and the same thing with sharks, great white sharks, right? People, again, try to say they are mindless consumers. Well, again, explain this. Why do they nudge kayaks and such to knock the people out of them? Well, they know you're in there. Okay. Why do they pop their eye out of the water to look at you and look all around? They are gathering the environment, looking for whether seals are up there or what's on this boat. Also, why are there videos where it's legit sitting there just underneath the water looking up at you? It's as if we would be looking at them in an aquarium. They're looking just at you right there as well. That's a sign of intellect again. Okay, why would the shark put its eye up out of the water and look right at you? That means it's processing something.
It's learning. It's observing and it's learning.
Creepy as heck right there, my friend. And they have recently in California, in areas where the water is not too shallow, but risky, meaning like where orcas do it too, where they almost beach themselves in certain areas. So risky, they're usually successful at it. Well, these sharks have all been successful at the point, but they catch these seals and sea lions in water that these enormous sharks never would have normally come into. It's too shallow, and they're catching all these seals and sea lions off guard, where they're just sitting there laying in the sun, playing with their food, because it's literally like waist high water almost. And people don't realize that, yeah, in waist high water, you could have an enormous shark still.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they know how to exploit a situation for the most food that they can get.
Yes, it's just to give the audience an understanding of predator behavior and animal behavior in general. I mean, it's no different than humans. You have different levels of intellect based on humans. Well, same thing with animals, okay? Not every animal is a genius, all right? And even if a species is really smart, I saw something the other day again. Here we talk about the crocodile and a mammal, baboons. Super smart. Well, this big baboon, he's obviously been kicking around for a bit. I assume he was high up in this little tribe that they were with. I don't know. Apparently got too close to the water, wasn't paying attention. Bam! This croc drills him, and he's trying to fight back. No, good night. Right there. You got a baboon that's intellectual. It's been around for quite a long time. It was huge. Smoked. That's just nightmare fuel.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Right? Or like the tigers over in India, same thing, that swim out and they wait for people to be sleeping in their canoes. Like one guy was telling a story of how he had 4 or 5 people in his canoe. He woke up, there was none left. And he had survived this attack, but this tiger would take one, swim away, come back, take somebody else. I mean, that's so smart, man.
Oh, yeah. You know the Ghost in the Darkness out there in Africa?
Yes.
Yeah. Good movie.
The Sabo Lions, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Good movie, too.
Excellent movie. You know what's really strange about that? Maybe you can educate me before I read you these. Why did those lions not have manes? I just learned recently some male lions in certain areas don't get manes. Bizarre.
Oh, okay. I know those. They're stuffed and on display in the museum out there.
Yeah, no manes on them either, man. Check it out.
Yeah, unlike the film.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously they are going to add a little bit that more because the mane looks cooler. But yeah, it's bizarre because I almost automatically assumed that was their way of showing dominance. The bigger, not necessarily your mane, but their mane flows, and without that, I don't know. They look a lot like the females almost. Where would the capability of dominance come in? It's just really bizarre and something interesting for sure.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I like to nerd out, man, and it's still all important information because, like I said, I really like to dive into prehistoric and modern day predator behaviors for sure. All right, cut me some slack on probably messing up this word at least. July 2022, House Satonic State Forest, Connecticut. A young couple is sitting by their camp enjoying the fire and eating some good old s'mores and laughing away. Suddenly, they hear some strange crunching and rustling in the forest. Then, to their dismay, erupts a massive, bipedal, dark, smoky gray, wolf like creature with blaring bright yellow eyes. As they're sitting there processing what they were seeing, they suddenly realize it has recently just brutally unalived a deer a short distance away and was carrying the majority of the lifeless corpse off into the darkness when they had caught it off guard. After a few seconds, the strange creature growled before dashing off into the darkness.
Oh wow, that's not far from where I live, the Housatonic State Park.
Really? That's creepy, man.
Yeah, that's not all that far at all.
That's so bizarre. I've been on a roll lately with Jessica, yourself, and a couple other people where I was just picking reports from y'all's state, but then it was being in areas that were super close to where y'all are, and I had no clue the direct pinpoint location. So pretty gnarly, eh?
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of rural Connecticut. People don't realize. They think
Nice.
Connecticut's all Hartford and New Haven, but no, no, no. There's a lot of rural woods and forest here.
Yes, New England is stacked up. Well, we do need to let you get going here soon, so I got one more for you. July 2022, Lake Zor, Connecticut. A man is out fishing in the middle of a lake when suddenly he begins to hear strange human like screams that almost sounded like a woman being unalived mixed in with wolf howls coming from the opposite shore. Wondering what the heck he had just heard, the man began frantically paddling his kayak towards the sound. As he approached the area in which the strange noises were erupting, he suddenly sees what looks to be a 6 to 8 foot tall, athletic, jet black, shaggy werewolf snapping its teeth and jaws aggressively at him as it began to slowly walk into the water in the direction of his kayak. Mortified, the man began paddling full speed in the other direction back to his truck. What do you think about that, man? Eh?
I've heard things about Lake Zor, about sounds in particular, and odd shrieks and howls. It's in the western part, further south than where I live. It's in a area that's very loaded with paranormal activity as well. Just a very creepy area.
What the heck? Gnarly stuff right there. I have a ton more. Pretty much, I've been trying to get you and some of my other hosts to all sit down so that we have some great stuff together. But also, times like this, I have a whole section of Connecticut. So, I mean, I'll definitely have some things that I can hopefully share with you that you haven't heard of yet. And also, there's always new things coming in that we're trying to verify and actually, dive into more great stuff. Before we let you get back to the things you need to attend to, is there anything else that you would really like to touch base on tonight?
No, you pretty much covered it. I have my YouTube channels, the Winston Wildman Research Organization channel. Look up those terms and you'll find me. I have Searching the Supernatural, which covers all sorts of unusual and bizarre topics. And And I'm busy as a YouTube creator, just kind of starting out on some of it. So it doesn't have the numbers yet, but I'm hoping that in time that will happen. So everyone check it out.
Beautiful stuff right there. And yeah, to the audience, definitely make sure to go over and check out JJ's stuff. He covers a lot more than I cover here, meaning broader topics. And if you like to see people go live more or get out in the forest, he's definitely got you covered. To everyone that potentially complains about that, sure, at some point when I'm able to, in my eyes, become successful, I will have a good setup. It's not the easiest to consistently go live. I don't have a good chair. I don't enjoy sitting on a chair that is like a WWE chair that is an absolute butt breaker. My nieces and such are my hairstylists. It's not the easiest. Well, doesn't mean people don't have great information, but the point of that is, yes, if you'd like to see more of somebody interacting with you, JJ's definitely got that covered. Links, as he just said, will also be up in the description of the video. Do us all a favor, myself, all my hosts, if you really do enjoy our content, which you tune in and, well, you're subscribed to us. So technically, that doesn't mean you have to like us, but, well, you hit the subscribe button. So if you hit that like button, it really does help because, yes, YouTube doesn't like us unless, well, y'all like us. It's something that really does help. I mean, I know it's easily forgetful. I've been guilty of it until I started becoming a content creator myself, meaning I follow all these people, but I wasn't liking their video, even though I like it. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. I love these people. I love this band. I love this channel. Yeah, I got to help them get into the algorithm. Yeah, and I learned that from dealing with it as you and I are dealing with it for sure. It is something that helps us a ton, and we will have a bunch of new information coming out soon. We have a couple of excellent episodes where JJ and myself got to sit down with some of the other hosts, which I can't spoil it because it has yet to be pulled out of the oven, but that will be dropping soon. A ton of great things will be churning out. I do appreciate everybody who does help us get to where we are, but for the evening, this will be the conclusion of the meeting of the Midnight Society. JJ has things he needs to attend to and also must get his rest to make sure his brain is fully charged and ready to rumble. So until next time, everybody make sure to stay safe out there and watch out for the things that go bump in the night. JJ, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
My creatures, yes, I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for popping in tonight to hang out with us. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, feed the algorithm.